What is up, guys? The doctor is back in the office, and today we're going to be doing a full card breakdown of Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira 2, UFC 326 in Las Vegas. It doesn't get any better than this. And as for the rest of this card, we got some good fights. Caio versus Diyar, Drew Dober versus Michael Johnson, RoboCop, Bruno Ferreira, Cody Garbrandt's back, Donte Johnson's kind of fun, and the rest of the card kind of fucking sucks. But that's besides the point. You know what the thing is, guys? The BMF is not the only thing that's on the line tonight. Charles Oliveira trying to get the BMF championship's not the only thing on the line tonight, and Max trying to defend it. If Charles Oliveira loses to Max Holloway, I will be waxing all of my leg hair off of both of my legs. And, for some people that might not be a lot, I have an obscene amount of leg hair. You could literally start a fucking fire with how much leg hair I have on my legs. It's going to be extremely painful, and as that's going on, I'm going to be reading off Max Holloway stats and fun facts while I'm screaming in pain and agony. But let's get into this breakdown. I'm going to like, comment, subscribe, go follow on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter at The Cage Doctor. Let's move on to the early prelim opener. Luke Fernandez is New Jersey's finest versus Rodolfo Bellato. And anybody who knows me knows I absolutely fucking hate Rodolfo Bellato. This guy's an all-time bum. Anybody who's watched this channel knows how much I hate this guy after the whole Paul Craig incident where he's fucking acting and just a bunch of bullshit from Rodolfo Bellato. And he has the Rainbow Tapology page. He's 1-1-1-1. Lost his last fight to Navo Sterling. Actually looked okay in there, survived for 3 rounds. Also lost to Vitor Petrino, who's a pretty decent prospect on the Contender Series. I mean, the guy is absolutely terrible. I do hate him. He is pretty durable, though. That's the one thing I'll give him. He has non-existent head movement whatsoever. Luke Fernandez making his debut, had a nasty first-round knockout in Dana White's Contender Series, which, who doesn't get a first-round knockout on Dana White's Contender Series? Like, if we're being honest. He's from New Jersey, fought in Cage Fury, which is a pretty decent promotion out there. And, he has a nice jab. Looks to land his right a lot, can melt guys in the clinch, is looking to wrestle, has a lot of power. Again, Rodolfo Bellato, he has no head movement. And I understand this, I don't think is necessarily the easiest debut as much as I want to say Rodolfo Bellato sucks. He is at least a name in the division, has fought some decent level opponents, but I'm just so sick of this guy that I'm going to pick Luke Fernandez by second round knockout. Up the card we go to Gaston Balanos versus Jeong Lee. The Korean Tiger, they call this guy. He's really good. He's really fucking fast. Balanos, he's Peruvian, former Bellator guy, 2-2 in the UFC. Has fought some decent names. Lost to Quang Lee, lost to Marcus McGee at bantamweight, moving up the featherweight for this fight. He got finished in both of those. Jeong Lee, he's 2-2 in the UFC. Won his first 2 fights by decision, including a split decision over Yeong. Then he got finished by Hyder Emil, Daniel Santos, who's kind of a Korean killer. He just slept Zombie Jr. I like Lee here, though. He's younger, better athlete, much better striker. Bolaños moving up the featherweight was already kind of not really... How tall is this guy? I know he was already he's not a big featherweight whatsoever at 5'7". Just doesn't put enough output in his striking either. Lee can kind of mix shots of the body, keeps a high output, can push a nice pace, physically can outwork Gaston Bolaños, and probably can mix in some takedowns. So I'm going to go Jeong Lee by decision, maybe late knockout if he's really fucking locked in. Up the card we go, though. Rafael Tobias versus Diyar Nurgozhay. Listen, not particularly high on Diyar Nurgozhay. You would think maybe this guy would have some decent grappling credentials because he's from Kazakhstan, but he's really just a random fat Kazakhstani guy. He's 0-2 in the UFC, lost to Brenson Ribeiro, who's terrible, and also got finished by an Ezekiel choke in his last fight. When do you ever see somebody get finished by Ezekiel choke in the UFC? Tobias won by rear naked choke on Dana White's Contender Series. I just feel like he can out-grapple Nurgozhay. He's also a shootbox guy, Rafael Tobias, so he's got a little bit of Charles running through him for this fight. He's going to land takedowns, let it happen. It's going to be playing in the background. He's going to jump up on the fence, be like, let's go, brother, and he's going to win this by submission early in round 1. Not much to say about that. I don't really know too much about these guys. Moving up, though, to a fight I do know a little bit more about. I always fucking struggle with this guy's name. Sumudaerji. Sumudaerji. That was a little Irish right there. Sumudaerji versus Jesus Aguilar. I'm just calling him Suma. I nailed the name practicing up for this, but I fucking can't. Two decent flyweights in my opinion. Aguilar 4-2. The Tibetan Eagle, he's 5-4 in the UFC. I lean him in this fight. He's just bigger, can kind of piece up Jesus Aguilar, can just point fight, a little MVPs, kind of boring. I don't think he's anything particularly excited to watch. Like, and originally I was gonna pick Jesus Aguilar mainly because I just like him. Like, he looked good against Luis Kincaid Garul. I wanted to win because he's more exciting, and if he does win, then the fight will be exciting. I know that sounds like very simplistic analysis, but he could just bomb Sumo with a overhand right or something. He's pretty good on the feet. Has shown good submission game throughout his career. And I'll say this about Sumudaerji. He has shown the ability to be submitted in the UFC. I think Matt Schnell got him, Tim Elliott, who are crafty vets in their own right, but I think he has improved upon that to a degree. I just think Jesus Aguilar is going to struggle to close the distance in this fight. He relies a lot on blitzing in, kind of landing big power shots, but it's hard to blitz in on this guy. Sumo uses his kicks well, uses his jab to keep you off of him, and he has improved his takedown defense. And his most recent loss, guys, was to Charles Johnson. And anybody knows, if you lose to Charles Johnson in the flyweight division and you're a prospect, wealth is on your way. This is going to be the start of the Sumudaerji, that's almost a tick for me, title run. And he's also won 2 in a row for, I think, Mitch Raposo and Kevin Borjas. So those are names. Title run start now. I'm going to take him by decision. I would love Jesus Aguilar to just come in here and bomb him with like an overhand right. But I just think he's going to really struggle to keep the distance and kind of effectively blitz in enough in this fight to win. Now, moving on to the beginning of the Cody triumvirate. Trinity, the holy trinity of Cody's, Cody Durden, Cody Brundage, Cody Garbrandt. We have 3 Codys on this card. The first one is Cody Durden versus Tumendemberel. How the fuck? I can't wait to hear Joe Rogan and Bruce Buffer say this guy's name. But Cody Durden, this guy just spawns on cards. I have no clue how he sells the job. Lost 5 of his last 6. Got finished badly by Alan Nascimento in his last fight. With an anaconda. Did he lose by anaconda choke in that one? Which is like, Alan Nascimento has no hands and he was piecing him up. His last win was over a wash, Matt Schnell. Like, in the beginning of his flyweight career, or even, I guess now even to a degree, he's trying to wrestle a lot, but has like no submission game, and his cardio and his chin has gotten worse. Tumendemberel, he's 1-1 in the UFC. Won his last road to the UFC fight. His loss is to Carlos Hernandez. He's just bigger, rangier, has some submission game, and Cody Durden's chin it's gone, man. He is also longer. I don't know if I mentioned that. I'm gonna go Tumendemberel by round 3 knockout. Cody Durden, man, you gotta find a day job. Whatever. Moving up the card to Alberto Montes versus Ricky Turcios. Ricky Turcios, this guy was supposed to fight Cameron Smotherman back at UFC 325. Whatever happened there. Turcios 2-3 in the UFC. I don't really think he's that good. Lost to Chiwiwis. Lost to Eamon Zahabi. Beat Brady Heat stand, which is like a decent win. That's aging well. He's going to try and push a pace on you. Doesn't have a ton of power or a ton of accuracy, and he has this kind of weird stance that makes him almost hittable. I kind of like Montes here. I think, is this a debut for him? Yeah, it is a debut for him. I like the debut for Alberto Montes here. He has some nasty anaconda and Darce chokes in his bag, like actively is chasing anaconda chokes, which is kind of crazy. On the feet, he's kind of better. I don't really think there's much of a difference between Ricky Turcios and Alberto Montes on the feet. I don't think it's like he's super impressive on the feet by any means, but he's slightly better. I'm going to go Alberto Montes by round 3 submission. I think Ricky Turcios is like fairly durable despite being hittable, so he'll hang around in here for a bit, but Montes will lock up some kind of a choke in round 3. Moving on to one of my favorite kind of prospects in the middleweight division, Donte Lockjaw Johnson versus Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage, another guy who just randomly spawns on cards. I feel like he's been on every single card since like for the last 2 years, honestly. It's honestly ridiculous. And I'm taking Donte Johnson by murder here. Dominated Rodrigues Dumas in his last fight with a guillotine, and he did a good job reversing position in that fight. He even fought at heavyweight on Dana White's Contender Series and won by first round finish. Cody Brundage is another Tapology Rainbow kind of guy. 5-7, 1-1. His last 3 fights have been extremely weird, like got finished by Cam Rouse in his last fight, lost to Eric McConico, had that really weird Mansour Abdul Malik fight where like there was an accidental headbutt which led to a finish for Mansour, and then it got overturned by the Georgia State Athletic Commission to a draw. So that's why his topology is a rainbow. I think Donte Johnson's just going to run through him. This guy's a beast. He's pretty small, too. How tall is he? Like 5'8"? Yeah, he's not big, but this guy's just a ball of fucking muscle. I think he's going to run through Cody Brundage. Doesn't really have a chin anymore. He has a lot of heart, though, but Cody Brundage, 0-2 so far for the Codys, according to my predictions. I like Donte Johnson a lot. He's fun to watch. Moving up the card to really why we're all here. Cody Garbrandt versus Long Xiao. And I'm pretty sure Xiao Long or Long Xiao is the name of like a, it's like a basket that you put dumplings in and steam them. So there's no way I'm going to pick Long Xiao to beat Cody Garbrandt. I'm expecting a Cody Garbrandt masterclass. 2026 will be the year of Cody No Love Garbrandt. And is he an underdog? Plus 135 for Cody underdog. Cody Garbrandt is ridiculous. Long Xiao is a nobody, and I get Cody Garbrandt. 3-7 in his last 10, guys. I don't think he's thrown more than or hit or landed more than 28 significant strikes in a fight since the second TJ fight. And he can't beat anybody with any MMA skills anymore. But he's going to win this. Like, Long Xiao, 1-2 in the UFC. Beat Quang Lee, which is a decent win. His other 2 losses are to random Sheen Factory workers. The kid's a nobody. Funny thing about Cody Garbrandt is this guy can stuff takedowns. We saw it against Barcelos for a bit. He can get takedowns of his own. Xiao Long is a jobber. Cody's going to blitz and he's going to finish this. He's going to be emoting. And we're all going to buy back into the Cody Garbrandt hype train. And this is really sad for Cody Garbrandt because it gets to the point where if you're a fan of this guy, you're like, who the fuck is Long Xiao? Seriously, who is this guy? Who is Long Xiao? And Joe Rogan, I guarantee Long Xiao is going to land like some kind of a kick or maybe a takedown in this fight. He's like, you don't want to be there with Long Xiao, man. He has nasty offensive wrestling, as if Joe Rogan knows anything about this guy. It has gotten to a really bad point in Cody Garbrandt's career where the UFC is giving him a matchup where it's like, how washed really are you? And if you can't win this, you're going to get cut. So Cody Garbrandt's going to win this. I'm going to take it by second round knockout. I really think we're going to get a vintage Cody Garbrandt appearance, and then he's going to get some kind of a decent name like outside the top 15 and then get fucking killed in that fight. But Cody Garbrandt is going to win, and we're going to see excellence from my guy, Cody Garbrandt. Going through a recap of the prelim fights, Luke Fernandez, round 2 knockout. Gaston Balanos loses to Jeong Lee by decision. Rafael Tobias by submission, round 1. Sumudaerji, decision. Tumendemberel, round 3, what did I say, knockout. Alberto Montes, round 3 submission. Donte Johnson, round 1 knockout. Cody Garbrandt, round 2 knockout. Those are the prelims. Let's get right into the main card. RoboCop, Gregory Rodrigues versus Brunno Ferreira. I'm gonna go with RoboCop here. Listen, I really like the run that RoboCop's on right now. Also, this is a rematch from a few years ago where Brunno Ferreira won by knockout. And since that loss to Brunno Ferreira, RoboCop's 5-1 in the UFC. His only loss is Jared Cannonier. He's won his last 2 over Jack Hermanson, where Herb Dean let Jack Hermanson die. Beat Roman Kopylov pretty bad in his last fight. He can be patient or walk you down. I guess that's kind of why you wouldn't pick RoboCop, is because he kind of has, like, you don't really know exactly what version of him you're going to get. Like, he could come in there and be really patient, almost a little bit tentative, and you're like, he's a little bit boring, or he's just going to go in there, bombs away, and try and kill you. Who really knows? But he has long reach, a lot of power. He's not really setting up any of his shots. He's kind of just like jab cross or like an overhand. Like, it's nothing really very diverse in the striking game, but he can land a ton of big shots on you, mix in knees in the clinch, get takedowns of his own. Now, listen, he's not going for any submissions when he gets these takedowns, but he can mix in the grappling when you're tired and just kind of land ground and pound you to get a finish. I don't have enough confidence in Brunno Ferreira to land consistently enough to hurt him. I think this guy throws really kind of wild overhands that I've never particularly liked. And I think if RoboCop just stays patient, he could win this by decision. Another thing about Brunno Ferreira, like, because I've seen some people pick him to win this. Did you watch the Marvin Vettori fight? Marvin Vettori was kind of doubling up that jab, piecing up a little bit. Like, if Brunno Ferreira fought anybody with, like, any kind of footwork or any diversity in the striking or any grappling or really any MMA skills besides having a good chin, he would have lost that fight. So I'm going to go with RoboCop by decision. Originally, I was like, can he find a finish? Maybe, but I almost overrated RoboCop's power in his last fight. I thought he was going to kill fucking Roman Kopylov, and it didn't really happen. It didn't happen that way. So I'm gonna just stick with decision. I think he's hopefully a little bit more tentative. Watch that fight back, because the only times I think he might have 3 losses in the UFC, but his last 2 to Bruno Ferreira and Jared Cannonier, the problem in that fight was he was opening up too much and just trying to throw and hunt the knockout. He's got to be patient. He can find the knockout on Bruno Ferreira. I get he's a tough guy to put away, but I'm pretty confident RoboCop is going to win this fight by decision. Moving up the card to Drew Dober versus Michael Johnson. What a dumb goofball match. A battle of the races. This is hilarious that this is on the main card. This should be the feature fight on the prelims. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are not ranked anymore. They're old, washed. They're both kind of Dion Waiters kind of fighters. Dion Waiters fighters where you don't really know what you're going to get out of these guys. They're really inconsistent. They'll beat good names one day in the division, then lose to random NPCs. But I'll say this about Michael Johnson. Won 3 in a row. Last win, he fraud checked Daniel Zellhuber. Really put on one of those. People forget, man. Michael Johnson, this guy beat Dustin Poirier. Dober's lost 3 of his last 4. His last fight was a win over Kyle Prepolek. Even in that Prepolek fight, though, and I think Kyle Prepolek gets a little bit of a bad rap. Like, I think he is kind of decent. Drew Dober took a lot of damage that fight, even though I think he did win it. Like, what did he get, a late finish? Even though I think he was winning on points. Kyle Prepolek stunned him, hurt him bad. I think Michael Johnson wears damage a lot better despite being a couple years older. He has faster hands, can defend takedowns pretty well. I just think he's faster, more consistent. Drew Dober, his chin is deteriorating. He's not really the same athlete that he once was in the division. And I'm just going to go with Michael Johnson here. I'm not going to switch up. I've really liked how Michael Johnson has looked as of late. I'm going to go Michael Johnson by round 2 knockout. And this is going to be the end of the Drew Dober beating up on black people and minorities race. The crown is being fully passed to Quillen Salco with this loss. Michael Johnson's going to show up, win 4 in a row, and it's just funny. This guy just keeps on chugging along in his old age. Guy's a beast, but tough loss for Drew Dober. Moving on to Rob Font versus Raul Rosas Jr. Chewies. You thought Michael Johnson versus Drew Dober being on the main card was terrible. This is the featured fight. And it also feels like Raul Rosas hasn't fought in forever. And then I'm like, he fought in March. It's only been a year. It almost feels like 2 years. He beat Vince Morales back in March. And Rob Font lost to David Martinez back in September. These guys were supposed to fight at a UFC Noche on that Diego Lopez versus Silva card. I think Rosas got hurt, so then David Martinez stepped in on short notice and just kind of was a lot faster than Rob Font. And I just can't go with Rob Font. I get it. Like, I'm not high on Raul Rosas Jr. whatsoever. I don't really think he's that good. But Rob Font can't defend takedowns for his life. The one thing I'll say, though, he has good get-ups. He can scramble well. He doesn't really get controlled that much. But Chewies is a pretty fucking good grappler. Rob Font's been taken down 25 times in his last 5 fights. Rob Font's better on the feet, too. I will say that. He can kind of get in your face. He's a pressure boxer. And Rosas, I will say, isn't a great striker by any means. I don't think his footwork is great, but he can box to a degree. His takedowns and his entries are a little bit interesting, where he's kind of just shooting for your legs. But now with his improved striking, I could see him being a little bit more effective there and just landing his takedowns in general. And once he gets you down, he's trying to get your back, hunt for that rear naked choke. I do think this is a massive jump up in competition for him when you're looking at the guys he's fought, like a Richie Lang, Ricky Turcios, C-Rod. But Rob Font is just so old. I don't think he's super washed yet by any means. I do think he's washed. I mean, he's definitely fucking old. But I just lean Rosas Jr. here. I think he's going to land enough takedowns to win. He'll probably win the first 2 rounds, which are going to be really important for him because he's gassed out in that 3rd round a lot in his career. It'll be hilarious because he's going to get ranked if he wins this, even though I don't really think he's a ranked level fighter. But at the same time, like, maybe that's a little bit of bias for me. Like, if anybody else fought Rob Font, who was like a decent prospect at bantamweight, like, what's that dude's name? Daniel Marcos? Is that his? I'm blanking on random names right here. But if like Daniel Marcos fought if he fought Rob Font, maybe I would. Yeah, it's Daniel Marcos. If like Daniel Marcos fought Rob Font and beat him, and then he got his ranking, I'd be like, all right, like that's a good win. Maybe I'm just having a little bit of anti-bias toward Chewies, but I think he's gonna win this by decision. Just land enough takedowns to win. Maybe he can get a submission in on Rob Font. Maybe Rob Font just really... I mean, I just want to make sure I made a pick in there. Maybe Rob Font just really shows his age in this fight, honestly. But I'm going to take Chiwiwis by decision. He's going to win the first 2 rounds, gas out in the third. Maybe some people think it's a robbery. Up the card we go. Caio Borralho versus Reiner de Ridder. What a weird matchup, in my opinion, because at one point I was kind of high on both of these guys, in all honesty. But the thing is, I don't think either one of them... like they've hit a little bit of a lull in their careers. It's a weird fight. Again, not sold on any of these guys. Caio got 50-45 by Nasi Nabavov in his last fight. His best win is Jared Cannonier and also as a finish over a corpse of Paul Craig. And he's a pretty good striker, though. I think that's where he has the advantage in this fight. Has good calf kicks, has good body kicks, solid jab, can grapple well, has good fight IQ. You know, the fighting nerds always game plan very well. And RDR is just so sloppy on the feet. His striking is just hilarious. He bites on feints, can't block straight punches for his life. He tries to blitz in, like throw these knees in the clinch and make things chaotic. But just on the feet, it's a massive disadvantage. And, you know, I've heard a lot of people talk about like the RDR grappling, you know what I mean? I don't think the grappling gap is nearly as big as the striking gap. Like Caio Borralho, I don't think he has any like glaring holes in his game, which is kind of why I'm going to pick him. I'd love RDR to win this. I don't really think he's good whatsoever. He does so much dumb shit in the octagon, but I do like watching him fight. He's a cool guy. I'm always for these kind of older fighters from different promotions coming to the UFC and trying to make a run, especially when you're like, you go out there and have entertaining fights, even if I don't think you're particularly very high skilled. But I'm going with Caio Borralho here. Just a lot better on the feet. His grappling is about the same as RDR. I would say RDR is a little bit better. I lean Caio, again, just faster, cleaner striker, more well-rounded. What a dumb co-main, though. Like, just, I can't believe Caio Borralho versus RDR is the co-main. Just real, they dropped the ball. This should have been the featured fight on the main card. I would have been very high on that, but RDR, man, him losing this, he's going straight to light heavyweight. You know what I mean? There's no path for him at middleweight once he loses. I don't think there's a path anyway. I don't think this guy's winning the belt. I bought into all the hype. The gas tank oh wait, I actually forgot to mention this. How did I fucking forget to mention the gas tank concerns? I'll say this, I think they're a little bit overblown, at least in this fight, because it's only 3 rounds. And it's not like Caio Borralho, he's pushing like this insane pace on you, I would say. But I don't think he's gonna push this like insane pace by any means on you. But and also he had a legitimate medical problem. He had suffered from anemia. It's not the first time he's had these problems with his gas tank, but I think he's gonna come in better shape. I do believe the, you know, massive amount of fights that he was taking within a year, like 5 fights in a year where he fought GM3, Kevin Holland, Bo Nickel, Robert Whittaker, and Brendan Allen. That takes a toll on your body, especially when his weight cut to middleweight is already pretty difficult. And I actually forgot to mention this. Anybody who's picking RDR and like his best win is Robert Whittaker, he went like life and death with Robert Whittaker and like arguably lost that fight. You know what I mean? I think he won. I think I picked Robert Whittaker to win that. But he went life and death there. Robert Whittaker exposed him on the feet, nearly finished him. I'm just not confident in RDR whatsoever in this matchup. Like, Caio is younger than Robert Whittaker, a little bit more technical of a striker. Or not a little bit, definitely more technical of a striker, and, you know, hasn't worn nearly the same damage that a Robert Whittaker has. So I'm going to go with Caio Borralho by decision. Maybe he finds a late finish in this because RDR... maybe he's just done a middleweight, you know what I mean? I kind of hope RDR wins. I've never been the biggest Caio fan, but he's so well-rounded and doesn't have enough glaring holes in his game, so I don't really worry about him. Like, I'm just trying to think of the worst outcome for Caio, and I'm like, you know, how are you picking RDR to, let me go back to, I'm not done with this fight. How are you picking RDR to win, like, realistically? Because if you're like, oh, the grappling, I think they're very close in the grappling. You can't say anything about the striking because, you know, Caio is obviously much better in the striking department. And, why the fuck did I just lose my thought right there? And if you're like, oh, what about the knees of RDR? Man, that shit, Bo Nickel collapsed because he had never felt the knee to his fucking stomach again. Now, I think he'd beat Bo Nickel 100 times out of 100. I'm not like saying, oh, that was a fluke because Bo Nickel had no conditioning to the body. No, that would happen every single time. But anybody who's bringing up these knees of RDR, like, yeah, but I just don't think that's going to happen with Caio. I think Caio's going to be able to keep him off of him, and even when he gets in close, he can land takedowns, mostly double legs. That's what you're getting for Caio. but I just think he's going to win this by decision. I'm done. I had a lot of points I forgot about that fight as I was talking about it. But moving on to the main event, probably the only reason you guys hear Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira 2 for the BMF, 5 rounds. Doesn't get any better than this. Now, I made a full breakdown on this fight, so I'm going to try and keep this a little bit briefer than that whole video. It's also on my channel. Make sure to go like and comment on that one. I think Charles Oliveira is going to win this. And I think there's a lot of good reasons to pick Max Holloway. And honestly, I think he has more avenues to winning. Like, if I'm trying to take off my unbiased cap, because for anybody who doesn't know me, Charles Oliveira, that's my favorite fighter of all time. He's my GOAT. Max Holloway somewhere, in that top 10. But I just look at this and I say, what can Charles Oliveira do to slow Max Holloway down? I think he can mitigate Holloway's, lateral movement. Shout out Hakeem Olajuwon and Kevin Garnett. Mitigate his lateral movement by chopping with calf kicks and leg kicks, what Charles will do. Constant forward pressure, which Charles is going to have to do. Charles is going to have to make sure that he gets his fight as close to the fence as possible, because Max Holloway out in the opening, dancing in and out of range, just hitting flow state is going to be bad for Charles. Max can blitz in on him, get through that high guard. I see this. Like, Garbrandt got around Charles Oliveira's high guard, which really is not difficult to do. His hands are really just there. He's not defensively sound whatsoever. I think Holloway can get around that guard and hurt Charles bad. And I'm going to say this, they're both going to have moments. Even if Charles loses, he'll have a moment against Max Holloway. I guarantee both these dudes are going to drop each other. I'd be very surprised if it was a mauling either way. But Charles is going to have to get Max to the fence. I don't think he's great I don't really think he's good by any means in terms of cutting you off the cage. That's just not how he does it. He's very much in and he's out. You know what I mean? He's walking forwards or he's walking backwards. He's not really a ton of lateral side-to-side movement in his game. But the one thing that when Dustin had Max backed up to the fence and Max is circling away, he did land his jab a couple times. We saw Ilya. That's kind of what did a lot of damage to Max Holloway and ultimately led to a finish. Max Holloway can get a little bit telegraphically and predictable with how he's circling out. If Charles can land a couple of hooks or jabs as Max Holloway is circling out, he could get a finish there. And I had a dream 3 months ago that Charles Oliveira was going to win this fight by Darce choke. I'm 1-for-1 so far in dream UFC outcomes. Months back, I had a dream that Diego Lopez brutally knocked out John Silva and it happened. So I'm going to stick to my guns. Charles Oliveira is going to win this by 3rd round submission. Again, wouldn't shock me by any means if Max Holloway won this fight. I think he does a great job with distance management. He can mitigate the takedowns of Charles Oliveira. He has good takedown defense. Now, listen, Max Holloway has not fought any, I would say, offensive grapplers or even wrestlers to the degree of Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira's offensive wrestling has gotten significantly better, throughout time. Since that second Michael Chandler fight, you've really started to see it, where he's getting that body lock on you, dumping you, or he can trip you. He's just going to get you down along the fence. He has gotten a lot better at that. Now, Max Holloway does a great job of just digging under hooks on guys, shucking them off, and even when he gets taken down, he doesn't really get controlled. He does a great job pushing off the head, scooting the hips out. He does do a really great job with his takedown defense. But if you look at the guys that have fought him that you'd say have grappling in their game or wrestlers, you got Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega has great jiu-jitsu. His entries are not good, and he's not a good wrestler by any means. Then you have Volk. Volk, there's really no submission threat with him. And even when he uses his wrestling, it's not I wouldn't say it's like a Charles. Volk will do, he did a lot of inside trips to Max Holloway, I believe, a lot in that second fight and was able to control him a little bit. But again, Max does a great job getting to the wall. Then you look at Ilya. Ilya timed up a beautiful double leg on him, but Max did a good job getting up to the wall. And then you have Frankie Edgar, which I've seen some people bring him up. Frankie Edgar really never uses wrestling a ton at featherweight, and also is literally a midget. I've seen 1,000 Frankie Edgars walking the streets of Long Island, getting coffee, getting bagels. He is literally a midget. He might be the same size as Ilya, but again, he wasn't really using his wrestling a ton at featherweight. I think Max can slow the takedowns. I think he can land through Charles Oliveira's guard. He could just be faster. I'm outlining all the possibilities here. I kind of made a little bit more of a definitive prediction in my full breakdown, so I'm just kind of giving you my raw thoughts off the top of my head. I do think Charles Oliveira is going to have a sequence in this fight where he backs up Max Holloway, which we saw Dustin Poirier do to him, which we saw Ilia Topuria do to him, where you can get Max Holloway to the fence, and Charles is going to time up a beautiful double leg. He's going to dump him, And I think we're going to see at least a similar sequence to maybe what happened with Gamrot, where maybe he locks in a rear naked choke. I know I said Darce choke. I think there's always the opportunity where Charles can get in the clinch, they can break away, and Charles can land a straight right. You know, that's always possible. Max doesn't want to be in the clinch with Charles. That's where he's going to succeed with a ton of knees, elbows. And again, you'll hear, I think Max Holloway's definitely the better striker, and his power has got a lot better at 155. But Charles has more proven power at 155, and he has, he's much better in the clinch, has elite level Muay Thai. Maybe not, you know what I mean. He's got this interesting Muay Thai style with a lot of power. I think a lot of people are at least discrediting him on the feet. And another thing about the chin narrative between these guys, both these guys have deteriorating chins and have both gotten worse in their defensive game. Like, Max has gotten dropped in his last 3 fights. Charles, this guy gets fucking dropped every fight. So I don't want to just hear, ooh, Max clips Charles, it's over. I don't think it's as simple as that. Max will definitely clip Charles, and Charles will go to the ground. It'll just be interesting to see if Max follows him to the ground, because nobody really follows this dude to the ground when they knock him down, except Islam. That's really it. And, you know, I think Max Holloway has underrated BJJ, has a nasty guillotine, but is he really going to go to the ground with a guy like Charles Oliveira? I just think Charles is going to be, I can't say he's not going to be patient. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to have a sequence where he gets Max Holloway either to the fence, he lands that takedown similar to Gamrot, which we've seen in his last couple fights, where he just dumps you, gets that body lock, dumps you, takes your back, and gets a rear naked choke in. Or we get a little bit of a interesting clinch sequence. They break off and Charles lands a straight right, gets on top of Max somehow and figures out a way to, you know, lock in a Darce choke or something. Again, Charles can also get submissions off the back. If Max follows him on the ground, he could throw up a triangle. He could throw up an arm bar. There's so many options for him in the submission game. I really do think this fight can go either way. I hope Charles doesn't lose, just for my mental health and the sake of my leg hair. I don't want to lose. It's just going to be so painful, but so excited for this one. 2 of my favorite fighters of all time going at it. I like Charles Oliveira by round 3 submission. I've just had a feeling all week that he's going to win. I didn't feel this way with Ilya now, albeit Ilya Topuria, he's Thanos. You know what I mean? We've seen at least I've seen Max Holloway lose. Ilya Topuria, that guy's Jesus. I've had this weird feeling all week that Charles Oliveira is going to shock the world, because look at the prediction, 69-31. A lot of people are counting you out. Not me. Charles Oliveira by round 3 submission. The title run starts now. Champion is the name of Charles Oliveira, brother. Remember, thank you all for watching. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Again, thank you all for watching. Love all the support in the videos recently. The doctor is signing off.